Cognition AI just unveiled Devin, the quote-unquote first AI software engineer. Now, if you've watched my channel at all, you know they're not the first, but still, their demos were quite impressive, but the amount of traction that their marketing got over the last few days, that was the most impressive part of the entire thing. So today, I'm gonna go over all of their demos, I'm gonna show you what's unique about Devin, and I'm gonna tell you how they were able to achieve such an incredible launch. Before we get into everything else, let me show you their launch video, which was hosted by their CEO, Scott Wu. And Scott Wu is very impressive, and I'm gonna show you why right after this video.
Hey, I'm Scott from Cognition AI, and today I'm really excited to introduce you to Devin, the first AI software engineer. Let me show you an example of Devin in action. I'm gonna ask Devin to benchmark the performance of Llama on a couple different API providers. From now on, Devin is in the driver's seat. First, Devin makes a step-by-step plan of how to tackle the problem. After that, it builds the whole project using all the same tools that a human software engineer would use. Devin has its own command line, its own code editor, and even its own browser. In this case, Devin decides to use the browser to pull up API documentation so that it can read up and learn how to plug into each of these APIs. Here, Devin runs into an unexpected error. Devin actually decides to add a debugging print statement, reruns the code with the debugging print statement, and then uses the error in the logs to figure out how to fix the bug. Finally, Devin decides to build and deploy a website with full styling as the visualization. You can see the website here. All of this is possible today because of the advancements that we've made in both reasoning and long-term planning. It's a really hard problem, and we've only just started, but we're super excited about the progress that we've made so far. In the meantime, if you'd like to try out Devin on your own real-world tasks, send us a request below, and we'd be happy to forward it to Devin.
All right, so you saw the video, but if you watched my video from yesterday going over Pythagora, it's essentially the same thing. Definitely, Devin has a very unique UI, but in terms of capabilities, I've seen GPT-Pilot, also known as Pythagora. I've seen MetaGPT. I've seen a handful of other projects that do this or better. Now, what is so unique about Devin? Well, there's a few reasons why they were able to get such an explosive launch day. First, they raised a bunch of money. So they raised $21 million Series A, led by Founders Fund. Founders Fund is an incredibly well-known fund in Silicon Valley. And so just having the backing of Founders Fund, having all of their investors tweet them out, it helped get the ball rolling for their incredible reach that they were able to achieve this week. And if you're not familiar with Founders Fund, it was founded by Peter Thiel, who is a very well-known libertarian billionaire, founded PayPal, went on to be the first check in Facebook, close friends with Mark Zuckerberg, and Sean Parker was also a part of Founders Fund, so a very reputable firm backing Devin. But that's not it. Let me also show you a video that went absolutely viral about the CEO. He is a very, very sharp person, to say the least. Watch this.
We're going to move on to the last matchup of the first round, which has Victoria Shah, our 7th seed, against Scott Wu from Louisiana, our 10th seed. And the question is, if the pattern shown continues, what is the letter in the 2010th position? Scott.
A.
A is the correct answer. And the next question is, what is the value of 255? Scott.
5,000.
5,000 is the correct answer. Moving on to the third question of our matchup. The digits 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 can be arranged to, Scott.
60.
60 is the correct answer. Which means that Scott has won that matchup.
All right, so shortly after the launch, that video went viral. Everybody looked at it and said, wow, this guy is super smart. I mean, it's obvious from that video he was a significant overachiever, and now he's building this company, and of course people are gonna keep their eye on it. In their blog post, they described Devin as the world's first fully autonomous AI software engineer. I don't agree with that, but that's fine. That's all marketing play. And this also helped them get the reach that they did just by saying they were the first, even though we know they're not. So with our advances in long-term reasoning and planning, Devin can plan and execute complex engineering tasks requiring thousands of decisions. Devin can recall relevant context at every step, learn over time, and fix mistakes. This is all stuff that we've seen other AI coding assistants do. But there is something that is truly unique about Devin, and that is their UI. They put everything into a single, very pretty looking UI. So they have common developer tools, including a shell, a code editor, and a browser within a sandbox compute environment. So basically you have this single view that has all 4 things that you're gonna need as you're coding with Devin. And that was really impressive because typically you're switching back and forth between different tools, working with an AI coding assistant. Okay, so this is a very impressive demo, and really all of their demos were quite impressive, and I think that's also part of the reason why they were able to make such a big splash with their launch. Let's look at this first demo. So Sarah pastes a blog post about something she saw where AI can essentially generate an image with hidden text. And all she does is simply paste the blog post and say, hey, I saw this, can you set this up and make it happen? So that's really cool. Devin scans the page, scrapes the content, figures out what it needs to do, comes up with a plan, and installs everything, and then finally outputs what they need. It also fixes errors, which is great, but not something that's unique. So she loads up the page and there it is, Sarah and Devin. So very, very cool. And I think what was truly unique about this was the fact that it was as simple as just dropping a blog post in and saying, hey, check this out, read it, and let me know. But again, this is all powered by GPT-4. They don't have a special model that they're using. Whatever they've built on top of GPT-4, that's very impressive, but the underlying model is the same as any other AI project is using. And in fact, one limitation of Devin is that it's not open source and you can't plug in your own model. You can't run a local model, you can't run Claude, you can't run any other model except for the one that they're choosing, which may be a benefit or a drawback depending how you look at it. Okay, the next demo shows an engineer from Devin telling Devin to build him a personal website that runs Game of Life. And if you're not familiar, Game of Life is just a simple algorithm that shows how life progresses using pixels. And you know what? It'll speak for itself when you see it. But he says this is for Devin, so make it customized to him as well. And so let's watch Devin build this out. Devin follows up with clarifying questions, which again is nothing special. We saw that in our Pythagora video yesterday. But once again, I think what really sets Devin apart is the user interface. And it is very nice, it is very clean. And so here it is, here's the Game of Life. So there was created, and he follows up with, we needed to say Devin in very cool text in the middle of the screen. Actually, never mind, make it start with the words Devin in pixels. They go back and forth in a really nice conversation window. And then eventually Devin is able to output the Game of Life, starting with the characters Devin as the initial pixels. And here on the right side, we can see why the UI is so nice. We have the shell, the browser, the editor, and the planner all in one window, so you don't have to switch around, which is nice. And then finally, the code is output, put on Netlify, and we have the demo that starts with the text Devin, and as you move your mouse on the screen, it launches new life pixels and the Game of Life progresses. Now in this next demo, it's going to show Devin actually finding a bug in code that the original engineer was not able to find. Now what I think is special about this is that they could just paste a GitHub repository and Devin is going to go scan it and figure out what's going on. Most AI coding assistants aren't able to iterate on existing code bases. Now there's a couple exceptions to that, like Aider, which uses universal C tags to do it. This is a very hard problem, and I wonder how Devin was able to solve it. My guess is universal C tags. All of the code that we're seeing, all of the demos that we're looking at are less than a few thousand lines of code. So my guess is maybe they just didn't, and they're just fitting the whole code base inside of the context window of GPT-4. Since it's 128,000 tokens. So here we go, clone from repo, explored the directory structure of CP book, reviewed the code, and it's going to find a bug. Let's watch the rest of the video now.
And then I told Devin what test case I wanted. I just told Devin, these are the inputs, and then try checking for these conditions for me. So Devin wrote the test without too much trouble. So then I asked Devin to actually expand the test a little bit. This time, after Devin ran the tests, Devin actually found a test failure. And now, if the code were correct, there could be compiler errors in the test, but the tests seemed really pretty reasonable, so there probably shouldn't be a failure. So Devin went and tried to debug the program for me. So Devin here actually added a print statement to debug the outputs and the inputs to the failing test, reran the tests, and actually found which case was wrong. So after fixing this, Devin actually reran the tests, and now I can be confident that my code is correct, and I have some tests to prove it. Thanks, Devin.
Okay, the next video we're going to watch is AI training AI, which is very meta, very cool, I must admit. So let's take a look at this.
Hey guys, today I'm going to show you an AI training an AI. So here we're going to take the QLoRa repo, which is a fine-tuning method for quantizing large language models. We're going to feed this repo to our agent, Devin, and all we have to ask Devin is to fine-tune a 7B llama model.
So what we're seeing here is, can you fine-tune 7B llama model using, and then the QLoRa GitHub URL, there should be instructions in the README. So I really think this is cool, where you essentially just paste in a link, say, learn everything you can about what you find here, and then we're going to move on and actually do some coding. So that's something unique from Devin that I really haven't seen elsewhere, but it's not something that is necessarily very hard to build. All it is web scraping plus agents.
Devin clones the repo, figures out how to run it using the README, sets up all of the requirements using pip.
Okay, so it's downloading and installing all the dependencies, which is really nice. And again, everything's in one window, which is also really nice.
And is able to start running the training job. There are a few hiccups where Devin runs into some CUDA issues, which is to be expected with open source repos, but it's not a problem. Devin looks at the NVIDIA environment and figures out how to reinstall the packages to make it work. After a few more runs, figure out the correct model names, Devin successfully gets the training run working. Here we see training proceeding smoothly, loss is going down.
It's outputting every step along the way, so you can possibly always just go back to a previous step. And there it is, training the model. AI training AI. Very cool conceptually. In this next video, we have an issue that was created on a repository, and the issue is given to Devin to fix. So it says, write a fix for this issue, do not commit or push your changes. That's very interesting that they have to explicitly say, do not commit or push your changes, which means Devin has access to commit and push changes. So that is very cool. All right, I'll take a look at the issue and work on a fix. Just to clarify, you want me to prepare a fix, but not commit or push changes to the repository, correct? So then it continues on, reads the GitHub issue, and then prepares a fix for it, but does not actually commit or push it. So very cool. Okay, in this next video, the Cognition team shows Devin iterating on an existing large code base. And it is true, this is a large code base, which surprised me because I didn't think it was going to be able to really understand the context of a very large code base. But I think this was just a really nice demo. Let me show you the video and then explain why.
Hey, I'm Neil, and I want to show you an example of Devin, our AI software engineer, helping me fix a bug. So I've been using this repo called SymPy. SymPy is an algebra system written in Python. And I noticed this issue where when you take the log of a fraction, you get zoo, which is a type of infinity. So that's definitely wrong, but instead of trying to figure this out myself, I just asked Devin to take a look. Devin immediately jumps in, sets up the repo, and is able to reproduce that same zoo output. Devin then figures out the right part of the code and adds print statements in order to figure out what the cause of this issue is. And we can see here that the cause is that integer division leads to a 0, and then we take the log of 0. So based on that, Devin's able to fix the issue in the code by replacing that integer division with true division, and then cleans up the debug output and verifies that the results is what we want. And then Devin even runs the tests in the repo as well to make sure nothing else is broken. So that was great. Saved me a ton of time. So thank you, Devin.
Okay, now that you've seen the video, I could be wrong, but what I'm seeing is it identified a single file that it needed to fix. This was not across multiple files. This was not a file with multiple dependencies outside of that file. So it was able to read all of the code, add some tests to it, figure out what's wrong with it, and then fix it. But everything was encapsulated within this single file, which was, I don't know, maybe 1,000 lines of code. So still impressive, but not the breakthrough that I think that they were trying to convey. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not trying to poo-poo on Devin. This is fantastic. And I am a big believer that AI is going to take over a lot of programming jobs. And this is just another step towards that. I think where I have the problem is the way that they position themselves as being the first AI software engineer, which is clearly not the case because we have multiple other examples of companies that are doing just that, including the video that I posted yesterday. Now, for the coolest demo, in my opinion, Devin is actually able to make money. And so Devin took a job on Upwork and was able to actually take the requirements of the software job and actually complete them successfully, meaning it was going to earn money. So I know a lot of you are probably looking at this and thinking, oh my God, Upwork is done. And maybe you're right in the future. So let's take a look at that video now.
Hey, I'm Walden, one of the developers here at Cognition AI. We were playing around with whether or not Devin could start a side hustle on Upwork. So here's an actual real job from Upwork where the client wants to set up this computer vision model, which actually looks quite interesting. It seems very difficult to set up. I'm not sure how I would start doing this, but you give the task to Devin and ask Devin to figure it out, and things just kick off. Devin immediately goes ahead, and you can see it sort of starts setting up the repo. It actually runs into some issues here with the versioning. So if you watch how Devin deals with it, Devin's actually updating the code to make these things work. He continues with this, loading and importing packages. You can see that actually downloads images from the internet to run through the model. But you can see here that there are actually some issues that come across. However, Devin knows how to handle these things. Devin kind of pushes through, and if you look closely, Devin's actually doing print line debugging here, where Devin is adding these statements to track where the data flows. And Devin continues to do this until Devin understands how everything's working and actually then updates the code with the fixes after removing print line statements. Devin continues this pattern of fixing code and running it again until it runs the image model across all of these roads across the world. And we can ask for a report from Devin, at which point Devin sends over some sample images of roads with damage marked out and a nice TXT file explaining Devin's work and the different kinds of outputs of the model. Good job, Devin.
All right, so everything is really cool. I'm going to give them props. The demos are awesome, the interface is great, and let's look at their performance. We evaluated Devin on SWE Bench, which is a software engineering benchmark. Devin correctly resolves about 14% of the issues end to end, whereas previous state of the art is about 2%. So let's look at the examples. Now, Devin is comparing itself against other large language models, which is not accurate, and I'm going to tell you why. So Devin 14%, Claude 2, 4.8%, all the way down to GPT-4, 1.74%, which, okay, aside from this graph excluding Devin being probably wrong, let's take a look at what's actually being compared, because it's not apples to apples. Devin is an agent, meaning it probably has multiple agents working together in unison to accomplish different tasks. It's able to iterate on code multiple times until it gets the right answer. Everything else is essentially zero shot, one go. So that just means no examples. They just copy and paste something and say, fix this or do this, build this. And so it's not truly an apples to apples comparison. What I would have liked to see is Devin versus Pythagora, GPT Pilot, MetaGPT, Super AGI, Crew AI, all of the other agent platforms out there. That's what I want to see. And that would have made a very compelling comparison. But look, the team is amazing. What they've built so far is amazing. It's very, very cool. I'm excited to see how they progress. It's not open source, which of course I would much rather prefer it being open source. I would much rather prefer me being able to plug in my own models into Devin. But that aside, very cool. Congrats on the launch. If you liked this video, please consider giving a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.